Hey everyone, James Labrie from Dream Theater, and you're listening to or watching the podcast Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian. Enjoy this. These guys are extremely informative. I love their dialogue. I love their interpretation of the songs, who and what we are, what we were going after. They're very accurate in their interpretations and descriptions, and I just think this is a great show, and these guys are doing a stand-up stellar job. So once again, enjoy Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian.
This is Jeff Scott Soto, and you are watching Talking into Infinity.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Talking into Infinity, a Dream Theater-centric podcast. I'm your host, John. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, the CMSnetwork.com, and the pages of the CMS Network, Rumble, and Locals accounts. You can find us at those locations every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you are watching on YouTube and have not done so, please click the like button, click the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live. Without further ado, let me bring on my esteemed co-host. He is a man who every time he gets behind a camera, for some reason, he withers to black. But here he is anyway, Mr. Brian Hendrickson. What's going on, man?
Dude, was that Jeff Scott Soto in our intro?
That was Jeff Scott Soto, man.
But you didn't tell me about this.
You've seen it before.
I know. Actually, I don't know.
Man.
I totally forgot.
Look
That's awesome, though, man. It's apropos this time.
I know. I figured it would.
The one, the only. How jealous are you of me to have seen Jeff Scott Soto in 1985 open for AC/DC with Yngwie?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit, man.
Dude. That would be an awesome show to see.
How cool is that? Like, the dude feels like he's been doing it this many years, and he doesn't look like anywhere near, I guess, as old as he is. He can't be that much older than me. But, man, he keeps himself in great shape, and he's on 5 million projects, and
he's criminally underrated, man. I mean, his voice is just
yeah.
Okay, so November 4th, 1965. So he is.
I don't even have him by 3 years then. Just over.
Yeah. Wow. So he'll be 60 this year. Wow. God bless.
Yeah, he looks a lot younger than both of us. Let's just.
Yeah, I know. Right?
He's definitely in a better physical condition than both of us. That's not saying much.
Nice.
But yeah, it's good to be back, man. We had I think we'll probably just briefly touch on. We had a rough it was like 6 days between you and I, or was it like 4? You put your dog down, and then my cat. It was within a week, wasn't it?
Yeah, because ours was on May 7th.
Okay, so yeah, just barely a week. I think ours was a 13th Tuesday.
Yeah. No. So I mean, getting real about stuff. Real quick though, Chastity Crawley, great to see you. She says, here and ready to watch my first TII episode from sunny California. Well, sunny-ish where I'm living. 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Stays about the same all the time here.
Nice.
And Rocket Man 137 tuning in. Great to see you, bro. He says, howdy, y'all. Thanks for hanging out here, man. Yeah, so I mean, just getting real here for a second before we get into tonight's topic. It was Wednesday, May 7th. I think I've talked about him on the show, but the American Bulldog that my family and I adopted last July, finally the cancer got the best of him. So we had to say goodbye to him that Wednesday night. I actually had my Star Wars show scheduled, and we canceled that because we did it here at home, and it was, my brother came over and we had the whole family. So there was no way I was jumping on the computer after that. So,
yeah.
Man, and then like you said, like a week later, the following Tuesday, you lost Hutch, man. Which that was, man, that was yours was kind of out of nowhere, wasn't it?
Well, out of nowhere in the sense you never know when it's going to happen, but when you look at how old she was, you're like, okay, it's what 17 for a cat is what 70 8 for a person. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know how it equates dog ear wise, but that's pretty up there. So
it's 119 if you're going by 7, but
well, for a dog, yeah. But I'm just saying for like a cat. But
isn't a cat this is enthralling. We're debating cat versus dog ears.
I don't think it's 7. I don't know. But yeah, it was. So I want to get this off my chest real quick. I have two quick rants. One of which is the place where I work, and no one's going to hear this, so I don't even care. So I got an occurrence for an unscheduled PTO of 2-hour block on that Tuesday.
What?
An email, yeah, saying there's an occurrence. Now I don't know how you're supposed to, let your cat know ahead of time if she's going to have a stroke in front of you, and that you're going to have to, as much as your wife says, "Oh, I'll take him myself," like, are you insane? You're a complete wreck here. Like, neither one of us should go. So that's number one. So I'll straighten that out. But number two is, why in this country are we not hip to the fact that euthanasia is a beautiful, spiritually enriching thing to do for humans as well as animals? I don't understand it.
Well, I mean, it's a great record. I mean, Train of Consequences, obviously.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry, I had to pull a Brian there. Yeah, I mean, like I say, we won't stay on the serious stuff for too long. But I don't know. Oops, sorry about that. Wrong button there. I don't know. I've wondered that myself. It's dignified. It's I know. Like, for example, like my father's a perfect example. He would have done that years ago. So,
yeah,
I don't get it, dude. I really don't. I'm glad, that we're able to do it for our pets, because, whoo boy, otherwise it would be god awful,
Man, Chastity took it as hard as we did. She cried for both of us. Well, that's very thoughtful of you.
Chastity
cool.
is a total sweetheart. Yeah, she says, honesty time. I cried for both of your fur babies. Confused the crap out of my husband when I started crying randomly twice in the same week. So, and she's saying that human euthanasia exists. Well, we're not going to talk about guns, Chastity, but
well, it exists in
dark
most
humor.
countries, but for some reason here it's frowned upon. The importance of it is frowned upon. Let's put it that way. I don't know. I think it's all just a money making thing, for nursing homes and hospitals and doctors. Go ahead.
Sorry, she says it takes a shit ton of paperwork. It's called doctor-assisted suicide. Okay, I was not familiar.
Yeah,
with
but it's also not legal in a lot of different states. So,
yeah, it ought to be. I mean, if you want to go, you should be able to go. That's just why suffer. Yeah, and I guess for me, I would just say not that we have a huge platform, but I always like to promote this. Like with losing our dog, cancer sucks, and I hate the fact that we got to find a cure. Like you have a cure. It just makes you trillions of dollars, so you don't want to shoot the golden goose. But I'm a huge advocate of this concept. But guys, like, adopt, don't shop. Like I'm such a huge advocate for homeless pets, and man, if you're thinking about adopting, please do. Fuck breeders and all that kind of stuff. There's websites out there you can get any kind of breed you want, any age, any size, any color. It's we only had our Wayne boy for like 10 months, and we probably spent like over 10 grand to get the cancer treated, because we found out a few months into his adoption that he had it, and I wouldn't change anything, dude. He was amazing. It was such a cool thing to give him, to cram. He had just turned 4 like a month before, and it was just, we had to cram an entire like 10 to 12 year dog life into the span of about 10 months. Actually more like 6 or 7, and it was awesome. It was unbelievably rewarding to know that, I mean, he may have known better, but if he didn't, he just thought that's what life was supposed to be. And I take a lot of pride in that, and it's like, it's helped me get through, honestly. So, and I'm sure it's the same thing with you. I mean, 17 years, Hutch had one home. I mean, that's pretty badass.
Are you one of those people too, where like this, where it's like, okay, we can't have this stuff around that like reminds us, like, so we had two different foods for the younger cat and the older cat, and like immediately we're like, okay, every time we go in to get the younger cat's food that's in there, I'm like, all right, that's got to be gone, because it literally has her name on it, because when we're out of town, the neighbors come over and they need to know, and we're just like, I don't know. And her other bowl, like they both had kind of the same bowl, but I'm like, we got to put this other bowl away. It's just, I don't know. Yeah. It is weird like that,
Yeah, I know. For me, I'm not one of those, admittedly, but on this one, it was really difficult. My wife, her job is a 4-day work week, full 40 hours, but they cram it in Monday through Thursday. And, like she cleans the house every Friday morning, and that Friday she couldn't do it. She's like, I can't sweep up his hair and stuff like that. I'm just too, and it took me down here, like, cause the dogs, like, they crap out on my futon down here, and his spot was there. And I was like, doing the cheesy thing where it still smelled like him I was like, I needed to clean. I was like, I couldn't do that. Like, it's cheesy, but I mean, dude, they're family. It's as cliche as it comes, but it really is true. You just absolutely love them unconditionally, man. So, yeah. So, we said goodbye to Wayne and Hutch, and took the show off, so that Brian could, his was more fresh than mine, obviously, but yeah, that's why we weren't here. So we're back and ready to talk some music again with everybody. And this is the episode that we had planned for 2 weeks ago, so we just bumped it back. So man, I feel like I'm hiccuping all over.
Are you going to talk here. Wolfgang at all, or you want to save that?
We can save it till the end.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, we're already 12 minutes in and we haven't even touched on the topic. So yeah, so we're gonna deep dive the sophomore and unfortunately final record by Sons of Apollo, which everybody knows is Mike Portnoy and Derek Sherinian, getting like a super group of musicians together to kind of do a Dream Theater-ish type of a project. We've already done a deep dive into Psychotic Symphony, which we both love. And I've been looking forward to doing this record for a while, man. I love this album. It will always confuse me how the Portnoy honks just did not support this album or this band. I mean, it was, I saw them on the first tour, and there was like 300 people there. I'm like, what is going on here?
I was one of the honks because I was supposed to meet you there. I was too lazy to try down there.
Yeah,
I still regret it.
Oh, dude, it was such an amazing show. It was like, and I mean, but thankfully you know what it's like to see them, and even in an even smaller stage, because we saw one of their last shows ever, at least in the U.S. because I think they did a couple overseas shows if I remember correctly, but yeah, we caught them with like 6 or 7 shows left to go on the U.S. tour. It was we just looked it up before the show. It was February 1st of 2020. And then, as everybody knows, like 5 or 6 weeks later, the whole damn world shut down. So we, that was amazing, dude. I mean, we'll talk about that for a quick second, and then we'll dig into the deep dive. But I mean, to see Bumblefoot, Mike Portnoy, Jeff Scott Soto, Derek Sherinian, Billy Sheehan, from like 10 feet in front of your face, all of them at once. And let's not forget the opener was Tony McAlpine with Achilles Priester drumming for him. Yeah. I mean, and those tickets, if I remember right, were like $27. So it was like something like $37 or $39 with fees included. And it was at this place, I'll never forget, the capacity was like 355 because we was in Battle Creek, Michigan, and you and I drove there. And we got, the show was on a Saturday, so we get in there on Friday, and we went to the club ahead of time so we knew where we were going. And there was some local cover band playing, and there was like literally 10 people in there. It was us two and then like 8 of their friends, families, girlfriends, whatever. And I was like, I wonder how much this place holds. And the door guy points above the door. It says capacity 355. We were like, God damn. And then we come back the next day, and it's just absolutely assholes to elbows. I mean, it was sold out, but God damn. I mean, still to this day, one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. I mean,
real quick, go back to the day before the cover band. Like greatest set list ever. But if you're gonna bust out Empire and
Holy Wars,
you better be able to, you better be able to play them.
Yeah, it was.
I love the ambition. I love the balls. I don't like the brains behind it.
Right. Yeah, like you said, world's greatest set list, but I was thinking, not the world's greatest delivery.
Yeah, no, that was. We're like, wow, they're gonna do that. And then we're like, well, wait a second. We just heard the last 3 that were not. So I think we kept hoping.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I do remember like the singer's girlfriend was there like taping the whole time, and like nobody said a single word after any song. It was like
no.
It was so I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Let's go back to Sons of Apollo.
Started to depress yourself.
I felt bad for these guys. I really did.
Yeah, it was definitely weird. He would tell you the band name, and he tried, like, I give him credit. He tried to work up the crowd in parts in songs, like, oh, clap your hands, all that kind of stuff. But it was like, who? I mean, like it was weird. But I say I give him A for effort on trying, because you can't just stand there like a deer in headlights, or then it makes it even worse. But yeah, and then I mean the next night it was you got all the way up front, and I was right back by the soundboard, and I basically kind of camped.
Yeah.
And so we weren't standing together for the show, but Jesus Christ, the musicianship on display. I mean, for $39, no less. When is that ever going to happen to us again? I mean, like, the only thing I could compare it to is that Marty Friedman show that I saw, where it was $80 for the VIP, which included a concert ticket, and you got to, like, it was at the Grog Shop, which, for those of you who don't know the Cleveland area, it holds like 150 people, and you got admission to the show, and you got to hang out with him and his band on the tour bus for as long as you wanted, and get anything you wanted signed with Marty goddamn Freeman. I was like, what the hell? So that's the only thing I can relate it to, until recently, and we'll talk about Wolfgang at the end, but I saw Wolfgang from me to my computer screen basically a couple weeks ago. So yeah, that show in Battle Creek was amazing. I'm trying to think. I ran into somebody recently who was at that show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they remembered that, like, us waiting outside in the line, they couldn't open the doors because they had to, like, one of the subwoofers or something blew. So they had to, like, scramble and find a replacement to run the PA in the middle of, like,
that's right,
bumfuck nowhere. So
we were freezing our balls off. Some dude gave me a Soto.
Yeah,
like
it was cold,
freezing
man. It was cold. Michael McCollum, thanks for tuning in, man. Good to see you. He says, I enjoyed the House of Blues show in 2018. That band should have been bigger. Won tickets from Bill Peters. Nice. Bill's a good friend of mine, man. That was we were just talking about that one. That show in 2018 was awesome. I don't know how people didn't get behind it. Especially, dude, after all the Portnoy stuff we've seen since he's been back in Dream Theater, it's like, well, where the hell were you guys with Sons of Apollo? It's not that different. So I don't know. But that being said, why don't we dig into this record? I'll let you start. Real quick before we do the track by track, what were your initial impressions of this album?
This is definitely was a big time grower for me.
Yeah.
I think it was and real quick, I do have to give a shout out Michael McCollum. That's my buddy. We call him Metal Pete also.
Nice.
Comes out to many of the shows. I played in a band together, and he's my concert buddy when I can't find people that'll go to shows. Not that we're both like each other's last ditch effort. So we're going to go see Michael Schenker do the UFO thing at Lorraine Palace Theater. And we are psyched for that. I was not a huge fan of this the first time I heard it. Kind of a grower. I definitely like it way more now the more I listen to it. And there's a lot of nuggets in there you really got to dig to find. And some people don't have the patience for that, and that's fine. But I don't know. There's just a lot of little cool things if you really kind of sit down and listen to it. You're like, wow, I didn't know that was there. And wait, what's that? What's that going on there? And they're I don't want to say they're few and far between. There's enough of them. I don't know that there's not a lot of huge like melodic hooks to hang on to. There's a couple.
Yeah,
but it's more sort of the sum of the parts, and you're like, man, the playing is off the charts, and Jeff sings great, and I think the fact this is 8 songs is good. I think if this was 10 to 12, that's probably too many. We do have one super long song on here too, but I think 8 songs is perfect length.
Yeah, it was weird because I remember when this came out, and you were like, I don't know, and I loved it right off the rip. I thought it was great. And but it grew for me as well, you know, hearing a little bit more of the parts. I completely agree with you in regards to, you know, the melodies and the hooks and stuff. I think that's what kind of separates it from Dream Theater. I mean, there's multiple things that separate it from Dream Theater, obviously, but you know, I think that's what makes it kind of cool in a way, because you can, if you love this sort of music, you can listen to Dream Theater for the more, you know, melodic side of things, and especially with this album, I mean, it's not quite as proggy as Psychotic Symphony, so you know, it's different in that way. So it depends what you want to listen to, but I think it sits nicely next to the Dream Theater catalog personally. But yeah, you know, it's not as hooky as you would think it might be, or hope it would be, however you want to look at it. But to me, it sounds a little more organic.
Yeah.
You know, this is kind of like how I say, like, Falling Into Infinity has like a jam feel for me in the Dream Theater catalog. I think this one kind of has that. You know, and I think if I read correctly, they only took like 3 weeks to write this record. And they wrote it in Portnoy's basement. It was just him, Bumblefoot, and Derek Sherinian. And I think you can hear that throughout the record. It's very much more, you know, I say the word I keep coming back to is organic. It's more of a jam feel. It's not as it's not quite as progressive as the first album. But I love it, man. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, and Jeff Scott Soto, I mean, we'll get into it as the record goes, but god damn, his voice is awesome on this record. I mean, he's got some grit in there, and you know, he's got several of those wow, like, you know, I can't even like, fake it. But and the other thing that's interesting to me about this one is that it feels like the record gets stronger and stronger as it goes. It doesn't really ebb and flow, like these two songs are good, then this one's kind of then this one's cool, and this one's like, no, it's like it kind of starts off almost at its lowest point and then ends at its highest. You know, which is, you know, you don't see a lot of records going in that sort of pattern. So that being said, why don't we get into the track by track here? I don't know. I'll start with you, man. Goodbye Divinity, the first track. This is, you know, is the first single. So what are your thoughts on Goodbye Divinity?
Man, I love when an album starts out with a kind of like a killer like intro like this to a song. There's just so much cool interplay with the keys and guitars here. And this is a theme I'll touch on later as well, but sometimes it's difficult to tell exactly who's playing what. And I remember when we saw this show, and I think you and I were talking and a couple times, and I'm like, you know, on the album, I wasn't sure who was playing that. And then, you know, you see it live and you go, okay, well, of course I've already forgot by now. Right. So
yeah,
it's like, you know, it's like, are they doubling? Who's supporting who's carrying the main themes, you know, on this intro? I think it's a little bit of both. I think Sherinian drives the main riff of it, if I'm not mistaken. It does seem more like a keyboard. But I love albums that start like this right out of the gate. You know, we talk about this in movies. It's almost a slow burn type of a thing, right? The intro, like, it's like, man, it's just getting you charged up. You know, it's like I don't know, something you'd listen like to before you go out to the, you know, the ring as a wrestler or boxer, like not the stuff once you're going into the crowd, but like kind of as you're getting pumped up before you head out the tunnel, right? You know?
Yeah.
But when these type of intros are done well, you know, they lead to usually what I call it's like an anthemic type of a song and sound. And sure enough, that's what we get. It's super heavy, you know, anthem just right out the gate on this album and kind of blast you in the face. And it makes me go back now to think like, why was this kind of a grower for me? Because I hear it now and I'm like, how did I not first time I heard this? And I don't, you know, you never know, like the first time you listen to something, like what your mood is, or someone's like, hey, this new thing is out. And you're like, okay, you know, how invested are you in it? And what's your frame of mind? And those things all, people don't realize those all play a huge, I think, part in how we perceive music, especially as we get older. And, you know, it doesn't even have to be music, movies, you know, a stupid video on YouTube or something that your kid did, or your sibling did, like how you view, you know, this experience. And I think back now and I'm like, God, this is just a ridiculous banger of an opener. Like, what was I thinking at the time?
Yeah, I mean, dude, this is, you know, it's easy to see why they chose it as the first single. I think it's, you know, one of two songs on here that, and of course the other one I'm thinking of is another single, so go figure. But Captain Obvious in the house. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's accessible. You know, it definitely doesn't come out of the gate like Gods of the Sun or God of the Sun did on the first record. You know, I really like the intro too. You know, it's got that awesome synth part and everything, which, you know, I mean, I've said it many times that Derek Sherinian is my favorite Dream Theater keyboard player, and I just love his playing. So getting him right off the bat is really, really cool. You know, and then, you know, it kind of comes in, like you said, like it becomes an anthemic sort of a thing. But I think it sets up the record nicely. It's like, yeah, this is a little bit different feel from Psychotic Symphony. So I like that a lot. You know, that riff, you're like, oh, sweet. So, and, you know, to me, it's kind of cool when the album art kind of gives you a vibe of what to expect and matches kind of the feel of the music. And I think that the dark purple and black and silver and whatnot matches the darker vibe of the music on this one. And I think this is a perfect springboard to what's to come on the rest of the album. So, and oddly enough to me, you know, this plays into what I had said a minute ago about the record starting off and just getting better and better. This might be my least favorite song on the album.
Oh, really?
And I still love it. I think it's great. I remember when the video came out, I was like, fuck yeah, man. I was so excited for this record when they announced it. That was just amazing. I will forever be bummed that this band didn't continue. There was just so much good stuff that they had to offer, and you could tell they were kind of gelling together on this one. And yeah, I mean, what you said I think is accurate. It's a banger, this one, and it just kind of goes. It's accessible, but you get those little bit of prog parts in there. So yeah, this is a great tune, a great album opener, but for me, it just continues to get better as it goes. So moving on, we will hit Wither to Black, which is track 2. I personally love this riff. And again, this is one that feels like they just went into a jam and were just riffing and riffing and riffing on this. And then they went back to it and kind of fine-tuned the parts together. So this is one whenever I hear about it, I think of, you know, it kind of makes you do that snotty rock face, like when you're like, you know, like this is great for the audioverse, but you know, you got that face and you're just banging your head to it. Like it's just got that consistent groove to it throughout. And it's kind of an interesting choice as a second song for me, because in terms of track listing, it's one of it's a little bit more on the simpler side, I would say, compared to some other stuff. And I was kind of surprised that they didn't put like maybe reverse this one with say Asphyxiation, because almost kind of say, hey, here's an accessible song. Okay, now here's, you know, this prog beast. So Chastity Crawley, and in that moment we all made the face. Nice.
Nickelback, yes.
Michael McDonald. But yeah, it was yeah, I just thought it was great. It kind of built on what, you know, Goodbye Divinity had started. And again, I just think that riff is just an ass kicker. And it kind of, it's interesting to me because it kind of starts that whole, you know, this song starts that whole debate in my head about Bumblefoot's guitar playing and sound. And it was not necessarily the sound, I shouldn't say it that way, but his style and playing that fretless guitar. Like, I'm never sure if I'm 100% into it or if I'm a hair disoriented, because without having the frets, it's like, okay, well, man, it just sounds a little bit wonky here and there. You know what I mean? Like it's really cool, but sometimes it can be disorienting. Like it's you know, it's very interesting So this song kind of has like the first instances of that on the record for me. So, but yeah, I like this song a lot. It's a very, very, very good tune.
This is hilarious, man. I feel like you literally broke into some of my comments here because it's not the exact same, but it's along that. But real quick though, did we ever figure out what this album title is? MMXX. I looked all over and I didn't see anything.
I thought it was just 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. That was a joke.
I know.
Really?
I'm playing along, man.
Oh,
if you're gonna be stupid, I'm gonna be stupid.
Oh, the first rule of improv: play along.
Nice.
All right. Yeah. You know what? I mean, I'm going to say something about this album. It's built on grooves. It's not built on riffs, and I think it goes back to what you're talking about with Bumblefoot's playing style. And I don't know overall his playing style. I'm just going to say from what I've heard when he plays with this band, especially this album. So this album, it reminds me a little bit of Audio Slave. Like you said, this is more of just a giant fat groove, right? I love Portnoy's. I don't know what your thoughts are on the production. I love his drums, man. To me, that snare fires off like a cannon in my ear on this record, and
yeah,
maybe that's
it's
just
definitely
me. Okay.
No.
But this one does have a nice big fat melodic chorus thing he does. I love Jeff's his choice of notes on this one. There's some cool stuff with the Hammond organ accents before what I'm pretty sure is the Sherinian solo. But yeah, I'm gonna go back to the guitar thing. So to me, Sherinian, and he's talked about this before, he plays the keyboard and tries to get those sounds to where it's almost like a guitar, right? On a lot of the solos that he plays, whereas Bumblefoot solos, they're so out there in sound and style and theme wise that the last thing that it even really sounds like is a rock or metal guitar. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like I'm just pointing out a fact here. So don't shoot the messenger. Like it's not, it's definitely not it's not a criticism. It's just a fact, man. I mean, like his guitar sounds less like a guitar on some of this stuff than like I said, Derek's keyboard sounds like a guitar.
Well, I mean, he's got that thimble in the body of the guitar where he does that chattering thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No one does that.
No. And so this was one of the ones where I'm like, okay, wait a second. Who does the first one? I'm pretty sure it's, I think I've figured out who does what here, because there's times when you can actually hear the pick hitting the string, and I don't care what kind of samples you get, to play on a keyboard. You're not going to really be able to to sort of appropriate that kind of a sound. But right off the bat, I just think one of my thoughts on this album is it's built on grooves and not around like just massive guitar riffs, or it's built around a keyboard riff possibly, and that's totally fine.
No, I agree. I think you hit on something really, really astute a minute ago when you said that this album is built on grooves, not so much on riffs. I think that is a perfect way to describe this record. I think you really hit on kind of the core of what this album is about, really, because that's how I feel. I have a lot of stuff about, there's this jam part here and jam part there, and like, and several of my notes, and it's very apropos, and it does sound like they were worried more about the attitude more so than, hey, let's write this gigantic arena rock riff right here, or we need this super metal memorable kind of thing here. Like, no, I was like, they were vibing, they were feeling it, and they just kind of went with it, and what came out, they honed it, and off they went. So I think that's a really good point. And one last thing, and I wanted to say this earlier, but since we were talking about Bumblefoot, you know what his solos are like on this record? It totally reminds me of, the solos that Kirk Hammett was doing on And Justice for All, because there wasn't a ton of melody for him to solo over in a lot of that stuff, and so he was really doing some really wild off the cuff stuff, but it worked, and some of the solos on this record that Bumblefoot does are just plain fucking weird, but they work perfectly. They sound awesome, and I kind of like that vibe. So that's something that I kind of noticed after several re-listens of this. So moving on to track 3, we have for me, which is really where the record kind of puts it in high gear. We have Asphyxiation. What are your thoughts on Asphyxiation?
What's that? How do you pronounce that word? Degent? Is that how you pronounce that?
Digent?
Yeah, I don't even know how you say that. Yeah,
just
I mean,
just gent.
Is that how you say it? The D is
D
silent?
is silent. Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like in your marriage.
Yeah. Wasn't silent to your mom last night. Oh, Lord. We'll be here all week.
We're off and running.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're serving burgers in the back.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
right,
man.
anyway.
Gent. You got those dissonant, muted, chunky riffs. They're great.
Yeah.
I love that. It sounds like a siren. It comes in. It's like in the core. I think I'm pretty 99% sure that's Sherinian because even though we said there's not like a ton of riffs,
right.
Bumblefoot is actually playing a main guitar there. So, but yeah, that siren thing is super cool, man.
Rocketman says, "Got him."
Yeah.
Nice.
Bow. Bing. But yeah, man, he does. He grinds into those. It's a super what I call it's a fuzzy synth solo on this one. I like the middle.
Yeah.
The middle of the solo too, and then it goes like total chaos with all the instruments and even the vocals are all going like 9 different directions.
Yeah.
But his solo on this one, especially, it's so beyond out there. I don't even know words to describe it.
Yeah.
It's just unorthodox musical Nirvana, not the band. But yeah, I mean, it just works. It's just this band is the sum of its parts are great when they're on like this.
Yeah. Like I said, I think this is the first time that the record really kind of gets really into the heart of what you kind of want from Sons of Apollo. And I mean, it announces itself right away. The get it and get it and get it and get it. That really strange kind of, riff that brings it in. And, it's cool because I think it offsets Goodbye Divinity and Wither to Black really well because those started out with some pretty straightforward rock riffs, whereas this one is like definitely you're listening to a prog band. And I think the rhythms and the verse are really cool. It's just a lot of like, and I know this isn't the correct term, but I'm a musical moron. Like stingers, like it's almost like Morse code,
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of that sort of stuff. I like in the bridge, I think it's really cool where the guitars are kind of sticking with that weirder stuff, but then Portnoy goes into almost a straight, just double bass, pattern. It's like, it kind of offsets the guitars really, really nicely. And then I love that middle part in the bridge with like all that kind of and there's like yelling in the background and all that weird off note stuff. And yeah, the guitar solo on this one is just weird in all the best ways. Like it's just, oh my God. Chastity Crawley, please be Morse code. Please be Morse code. Quick, someone go check and see. Yeah, I might have said something by accident, like, oh, it's like Morse code. It's like, oh, I accidentally said I diddle penguins or something like that.
Like, minus the accidentally.
Right. But yeah, I think whenever I hear this song, I kind of think I could just picture them go, "We're a fucking prog band, damn it!" Like this is kind of like a statement of, don't get too used to the first 2 songs on the record because we are definitely prog. So yeah, this is one of my favorites on the album. This was definitely a standout for me then. It's a standout for me now. So moving on, we have track 4, which is the quote unquote ballad of the album. It is also the 3rd single from the record. It is, of course, Desolate July. This song, I think, has just an amazing vocal on it. It's a super emotional, personal song for Jeff Scott Soto. As everybody knows, he wrote it about David Z when he died in that unfortunate tour bus crash when he was out with Adrenaline Mob. And, Jeff was really, really close with David Z, and, he had done the whole Trans-Siberian Orchestra thing with him and played in bands and whatnot. And you can hear, that kind of just, anguish in it. I read that, the song title was basically because, he passed in July. So like all of, his friends and whatnot in July, they're all kind of bummed out. So that's where the song title came from. But this definitely has my favorite vocal part on the album. I just really love that, because I don't really want to know, going into the chorus. Like he's like basically screaming that. And the chorus is great. The melody's there. It's just melancholy and pained. And I love it. It's a beautiful delivery. As I said, to start out the deep dive, I think, Jeff Scott Soto's voice on this might be the best I've ever heard him. It's definitely my favorite performance of his, and I like a lot of his stuff. But this one, I think, is definitely the standout on this album, because I think he just gets the emotion across so very well. So, it's a pretty straightforward song in terms of musicality, but I'd say if you're looking for hooks on the record, this is the song that probably would stand out to you the most, I think, because it is a more simple delivery and whatnot. But yeah, for me, this song is all about Jeff Scott Soto and just a phenomenal vocal performance on this one. So I like it. I like it a lot, man. What do you think of this one? Desolate July.
Yeah, man. It's kind of a haunting tribute, right, to your buddy. And
that is a great way to phrase it. Haunting tribute.
Yeah, I don't know what it'd be like to try to sing something like that and put it on, tape, as we say. Nobody uses tape anymore, but you know what I mean. But and then to go out and have to sing it live, they didn't play that many live shows with it, but that's got to be pretty emotionally draining. I can imagine. For me, the standouts, I love the piano part. It's it's probably one of the most basic things that maybe Sherinian's ever done, but that's an easy word to throw out, basic, right? just because other people can play it, that doesn't mean it's easy to construct and
exactly.
To write and to put words behind and to deliver a powerful performance. And I'm always kind of a fan of especially being a keyboard guy, when you start out with one sound, it's great piano stuff, and then there's a lot of really, really giant fat Hammond organ stuff at the end when it really kind of gets some, I'll use the word balls to it, I guess, towards the end, more haunting, more emotional, more rocking, I guess, sort of a heavy melancholy part. But yeah, man, I mean, it's a powerful song. I mean, I guess if we didn't know the message behind it, it wouldn't hit like that. But then again, the song probably wouldn't exist if this hadn't happened, right? I don't think this is just something that they would have I don't think this was something that was just laying around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and it's a good point. Like, what would he have written about,
right,
if it wasn't for his friend passing away? Like, the music on it would be the same,
right?
But what would the lyrical content be?
Right.
And so it'd be, for me, like I said, this is all about his vocal delivery. Like, would there be that emotion in it? Would there be that power and just that, again, and that just that one line, I really want to know, like, would that sound the way it does if it was a different lyric? It might. I mean, he's absolutely one of the most world-class vocalists you can ever, ever hope to hear. But there is that little bit of extra juice because it's about his friend.
That's a powerful title too, though, man. Desolate July. You know what I mean? It sounds like like a movie or something where something tragic happens and somebody's stuck in I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm not like trying to make fun of it, but it's a powerful title. Like, it's instead of just, something like You're Gone, or, you know what I mean? Or What Could Have Been, or I Miss You, or whatever, or something totally hokey in a title that you could put, like
it just calls it I Miss You.
Well, not I Miss You, but I don't know, You're Gone or something like that. I don't know.
That would be
nothing that bad, but I mean something more, bland. But like Desolate July, I don't know. That's just a kick-ass title, man.
No, I completely agree, because it's an awesome juxtaposition of concepts in a way. Because if you think July, you're thinking like the height of summer and sunshine and
Right.
beaches, all this kind of stuff. But then desolate is, just
Right.
the opposite. And when you combine the two, it's like, whoa. So yeah, that's a great point. Chastity Crawley says, is it morbid that I weirdly like memorializing songs that give a timeline, like Wake Me Up When September Ends or Change of Seasons? No, I don't think so at all. I'm not familiar with the first song you mentioned, Chastity, but
Green
Change
Day.
of Seasons. Is it?
Yeah, it's Green Day.
Okay. For a second there, I thought you were kidding.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with Change of Seasons, so I kind of like that. I like the narrative aspect of it. I think it's really cool. So this is the most depressing show we've ever done. Chastity said it's about the guy's dad dying.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, but no, I'm into that sort of thing, Chastity. I agree with you on that. I think it's a cool way to present a song. I like that it tells a story more so than just trying to make something up on the, like a fantastical type of thing. I really enjoy that. So I'm right there with you there. So moving on with our deep dive here, we have track 5. My first note for this one is this song rules. So this is King of Delusion, and I have a sneaking suspicion that being as this song is quite well known for its piano parts, that you're a fan of this one. Am I right or am I wrong?
I am. Is that my cue to take this one on?
Yeah, go for it. I started the last one.
Yeah, you know what? This I think is my favorite Sons of Apollo song on the 2 records at this point. Man, I love that haunting piano riff. Every time I hear it, since we went to the show, I get sucked into that feeling. Remember when they like rolled out the little thing and he sat down and they rolled out that little piano and he played like right when they started that, and we're like, because I don't know, I don't know what you thought, but I thought when I heard this on the album, like, I doubt they're going to play this because I really want them to, so they're probably not going to. They're going to spite me. No, don't play it. But yeah, I get kind of sucked in back to us seeing them. They rolled that little piano on. He starts at the. And we talked about this too. Like they're playing this complete dive, and these just ridiculous musicians, and the juxtaposition of like those two things alone, right?
Yeah.
But you get after that sort of Baroque piano thing, there's kind of almost a sludgy, borderline Alice in Chains kind of thing going on. Yeah. I mean, you could see Jerry Cantrell cranking that out.
Yep. Well, and that's like the Bumblefoot thing we were talking about with the fretless guitar, and it goes with the second half. Like, wow, dude, it's. So...
I love the middle part where he gets to sing over those same kind of haunting piano things Jeff does. I put this note down, and I don't know. I think it fits. It's almost like it's like a gothic video game version of Dream On in parts of it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, I don't know. It gave me a little bit of a Dream On vibe. Not once everything else kicks in, but there's a little bit of a feeling to it in that aspect. And yeah, man, I just think if there's one song that it sort of, to me, what this band does best, it's this song, because it's just, everything is something that you're never really going to hear any other band do. It doesn't really sound like any other songs in the catalog. We've talked about Dream Theater has a few songs like this. To me, this King of Delusion is, what do we have? A total of, did they have 9 songs on the first album, or was it 8?
I think it was 10, wasn't it?
Was it 10? Okay, so they only have 18
9 or
10,
so yeah.
Yeah, we have 18, 19 songs, and there's not one that comes remotely to sounding like this, and to me, that's a good
9,
thing.
sorry. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that's actually a good point about this record. It doesn't sound like the first one a lot. I mean, it's a continuation, but it's a different type of vibe, which is cool. So I mean that's awesome. And yeah, I mean, dude, you stole, like I stole some of your notes. You stole some of mine. So yeah, I think one thing that you just touched on, I kind of wanted to mention at the end, but I can bring it up now, is that, I think with a lot of like heavy prog bands, what you get is really good stuff. But I think what sets Dream Theater apart is the accessibility of it. Even at its proggiest, they know how to craft these long songs in such a way that it doesn't feel clunky moving from weird part to weird part. And I think that Sons of Apollo does the same thing. And it may sound obvious to say that because you've got two former members of Dream Theater in the band. But I don't think it's an easy thing to do by any stretch of the imagination. And they do it very, very well. And this song is a great example of that. I'm with you. I love the piano parts in this. It's just like it's creepy. You know, you've used the word haunting. I would go with that one from, you know, something you said earlier. I really love the rhythmic left turn that the whole song takes after that intro, because you're not expecting after that, you know, the tinkly, creepy, like, you know, horror movie piano type of thing that they're doing together. Well, you know, this sludgy, like you said, Alice in Chains-ish kind of, you know, just grungy part. And, you know, something you also said that I have in my notes is, you know, with the bridge starting out with the creepy piano part and just the vocal, that's, you know, and then they sludge it up again, you know, they mix it up with the dark vibe. Yeah. And then my favorite part of the whole song is, man, when they do that piano part and Portnoy doubles it with drums and it's just the two of them playing, that is so awesome. That was the standout moment on the record for me when I first heard it, and re-listening to it a bunch of times for this episode, that definitely still has not changed. We have another weird Bumblefoot solo in here, which is great. And then they get into that, you know, that metal breakdown again. And, you know, then Derek Sherinian really gets to go off, which, I mean, that guy's playing, you know, we talked about, you know, a lack of obvious hooks and stuff on this record, but I think one thing that goes really unnoticed about Derek Sherinian is his ability to write melodic solos, even in places where there's not a lot of melody to play over. I don't think people talk about that enough, because his solo playing is just fabulous. So I love that here, and I like how when they did that metal breakdown, and you know, after the, you know, in the middle of that weirdo bridge. And then after, you know, Sherinian does his solo, they kept the rest of the song going that way. They didn't go back to the sludgy thing. I thought that was really cool to just stay on that, you know. So, you know, I love this song. I'm with you. It might be my favorite Sons of Apollo song as well. Our good friend Kale's tuning in. What's up, Kale? He says, "Hi guys," and then he says, "As the skies grow darker over WA," of course, he's talking about the state of Washington here in the States, "the Kale is starting to resign himself to the possibility that he's in for a long string of winter sleep-ins." Uh-oh. Bad weather. We have Luke the composer. I think I know who this is. Luke has spoken previously. So Luke the composer, good to see you, man. He says, "Hey guys, yes, I changed my YouTube name. Can't be on for long, but just want to say that I got tickets to see Dream Theater for the first time ever in St. Louis. Can't wait." Oh, you're going to be in Brian's hometown, Luke. There you go.
That's right.
Awesome. I can't believe it's your first time, Luke. That's crazy. I would have thought you'd have seen him already, but
trust your feelings, Luke.
Yes. It's going to be an awesome show. I am aware of some set changes that are rumored to happen, and if one of them happens, it'll be a really, really cool song that I didn't think that they would play. So
we still don't even know what we're doing yet, do we? If we do, you haven't told me. Or did you do something without telling me?
I love you.
Okay. I won't be insulted either way. It's fine.
This is why you should check. You should wait to book band shows until the Dream Theater schedule comes out. So yeah, I thought we both had a gig that night. No, I don't have a gig. No, mine was, I was supposed to do a Halloween weekend that we do every year. We do a Friday and Saturday. We go to haunted houses and do creepy shit. And Steph's best friend and his wife come up from Lima, and we had it scheduled that weekend. And I was like, well, I have this opportunity for that show now, and can you bump it to the week after? He said yes. So I don't want to say anything on air, but I will be attending the Columbus, Ohio show. But there could be additional details involved that I don't want to count any chickens before they hatch. But so nice. Yeah. So Luke says, "I'll be keeping away from spoilers." Yeah, I do too, Luke. The last, and we'll get back to the album here in a second, but that last tour, like the 40th anniversary, was the first time I've ever been like, yeah, let me know. I want to know what they're playing. Like usually, and Brian knows this, I'm like, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And we've had some pretty funny moments between us when he forgets and he'll, oh man, when they played Bleb, I'm like, God damn it. You know, I don't like spoilers. Like, he just completely forgets. So he's ruined a few songs for me over the years. But so yeah, I'm in your camp, Luke. So Chastity Crawley. I never understood that phrase. Just candle the eggs and you totally can count your chickens. Nice. You can tell Chastity grew up on a farm.
Or just use math and stuff, you know.
Yeah, but it might have double yolks. Everybody knows that.
It's true.
All right, so moving on here. We are on track 6. Of course, we are talking about Fall to Ascend, the second single on the album. To me, this is a song that just kind of like moves throughout the whole thing. It just goes and goes and goes. It doesn't let up. There's not too much subtlety to this song. It's very clear why they chose it as a second single. It definitely kind of has a similar vibe a little bit to, you know, Goodbye Divinity. I think of all of the songs on the record, I don't know how you feel about this, Brian, but this one to me almost sounds like the one that would be the one song that would fit best on Psychotic Symphony. This one kind of harkened back to me. Wow, I think that's the first time either of us have ever used the word harkened on this show. But
nobody ever harkens forward either, do they? It's always back.
Exactly. What can you harken in both directions? Debate. Let's have the debate. But yeah, I think this one kind of hits on the feel of the first record. Not all the way through, obviously, but I think more so than any other song on this album. But yeah, I mean, I don't have too many notes on this one because it feels kind of Psychotic Symphony-ish, and man, it just moves. I think this was a good, you know, sequencing decision on their part, coming off of King of Delusion, which, you know, has some the creepy piano we talked about and that sludgy riff. It's like, okay, now let's get back to rocking. And they just kind of put this one in here, and you know, it's a good song. It's a very, very good song, and I like it. And I think I really appreciate the throwback to the first record, at least in terms of, you know, the melodic choices and some of the tonality, because it's kind of cool to tie it back to what they did before. I like that. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, again, I'm gonna echo something. We talked about this before. I like songs, phrases that are play on words. So fall to ascend, right? It's like,
yeah.
You probably saw that thing going around about the movie Back to the Future. Did you see that? Where the studio guy was like, you got to get rid of that title. It's terrible.
No.
Yeah, this is the documented, like a real thing, I guess. Whoever was the head of whatever movie studio, it's like, we absolutely love the movie, but that title's terrible. It's so bad, you know. And was it Robert Zemeckis? I think he was like, we're not changing it, you know. And it's like,
yeah,
it turns out to be that's the whole point of the movie, is that title like fits perfectly. Yeah. But yeah, fall to ascend, I get like this cool turn on the phrase, because the only way to truly do that is to you know, to ascend anywhere, to get up or to do something, is you got to experience the lows to get to the highs and whatnot. But this album, man, it kind of, and maybe this was why it was a grower too. You pointed out, man, it is mid-tempo and ballad like to death until we get here. We finally take off like tempo. Asphyxiation, I guess, a little bit, but yeah, until we get here, like this.
Oh, you froze up, or was it me that froze up?
This is the fastest Portnoy's played on the whole. You know, I didn't even know from the first time.
Wow. Did I just freeze up on you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
No, can you hear me? Oh, okay. No, I didn't hear you freeze.
Oh,
I was just saying, I don't know about the first album. Was there anything this up tempo, man? This is like, you know, I love this almost a Van Halen-ish up tempo bit of a groove here. You know, it doesn't sound like Van Halen, I know that, but I don't know. Yeah, man, it's like you got the Phrygian mode again, you know, which is the Egyptian metal kind of thing going on.
Yep.
It's one of the few times where we get we actually do get what I think is kind of more of a metal tone out of Bumblefoot's guitar.
Yeah.
But the solo he plays, man, I went back and listened because I remembered hearing something on this album. I couldn't remember what song. It's this song here at the 3:30 mark. There's a freaking country bend riff on the solo.
Yeah. Yeah.
You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm like, that's country.
Yeah.
Right there. He just threw it in there. And man, I totally love it. I mean, I think it's completely awesome. Like,
yeah.
Where the hell did this come from, man? But yeah, this you're not going to use the term flat out rocker, I guess, to just, probably talk about most of their tunes, but it applies on this one, I think. And yeah, I can see why you probably think it kind of reminds you a little bit of the first album.
I just like I said, I think some of the melodic choices, I thought, oh, that's kind of like, something that I would hear on, Psychotic Symphony. So yeah, but great tune, man. All right, we have as the second to last track on the record, Resurrection Day. And what do you think about Resurrection Day, Brian?
Well, speaking of Phrygian mode, this is full on, man. I mean,
yeah.
And if you thought the first song before this harkened back, again, we can't harken forward, right?
But by the way, yeah, Kale did do research for us as he usually does. Thank you for that, Kale. He says, according to Google, no, you cannot harken forward.
I didn't think so, because I don't think anybody I've known have ever tried that, or if they did, they've been in jail since then.
But to your but to your point, you're talking about awesome song titles. Well, there is one, Harken Forward.
Yeah, there we go.
Because you can't do it. There you go. We just wrote our first song.
That's right.
Yeah, we just have to put music behind it, and then it'll be called Harken Forward.
Nice. But yeah, this reminds me of I get a bit of a Sun God 2.0 or God of the Sun 2.0 on this one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
This is a sort of a song type we get a lot in metal and rock, but man, I don't know that there's not that many singers that can belt out over these type of progressions and sound convincing. And I know Jeff jokes about the I Am a Viking days with Yngwie and stuff, but
yeah.
But man, when this dude gets going on these type of tunes, he literally sounds like some kind of 9th century warrior, right? He's going to sail his ships into your port. He's going to drink all the wine. He's going to take off with your women and your goats and your cattle while he's at it. Whatnot. I mean, this dude he's like a Viking metal singer. I mean, it's like, I'm not even making fun of it. I just like, that's how it comes across. He's just belting out this stuff on a tune like this. And I just don't know that there's just very few people that could pull that off. And he does it great.
I hope we can get that as a sound clip and get it over to him. We'll have to Aiken, check this out. Cut this and send it over to Jeff Scott Soto. He's got to hear this.
Yeah, man.
It's in your port, like drinking your wine, like cattle and goats. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's all a compliment too, dude. That he makes this tune, man. Just a slow, molten metal grinder, in that Phrygian mode, and that's the kind of stuff that it's kind of hard to screw it up, but it's also not as easy to do as people think.
Right. Yeah. I think this one is another good example of what we've talked about this record being more organic and kind of being formed out of just straight jamming, basing a song off of groove more so than the riff itself. There's just an energy to this song, I think, that is a little bit unique on the record. So I really enjoy that part of it. The interesting thing to me, I always kind of think of this song as I call it as the Oprah song, because that jam they do in the middle is like, you get a solo, you get a solo, you get a solo, everybody gets a solo. Right. So, they just keep trading off. And I like that sort of thing. I think every once in a while to just go out there and egregiously and shamelessly go, fuck you, we can play better than you. And do that for 2 to 3 minutes, in the middle of a song. I think it's fun to listen to personally, because it's like, if why not do it if you can? That the fans of this type of music are going to get into it. So spread your wings. Use your chops. It's awesome. Especially Billy Sheehan. I mean, that guy, like, oh my god, he is such a ridiculous player. I mean, his bass tone is weird to me. It's like a very, very unique tone. But man, oh man, that guy. I mean, it is crazy what that guy can do on a bass. So yeah, this is a great song. I really don't have too much more to say about this one because it's a little more straightforward, I think, in comparison to some of the other songs. But yeah, I can hear a little bit of God of the Sun in there, like you mentioned. And again, I just love that middle part where they're like, yeah, check it out. We're all like world-class players and we're damn sure going to tell you. So I enjoy that part of it. So very cool song. All right. We are at the finale of the record. Unfortunately, the finale of Sons of Apollo's studio album career as well. I guess, would we call this an epic? It is close to 16 minutes long. Would we call this an epic?
I'm going to tell you no, but I'll wait to tell you why. So go ahead.
I was wondering because this is their longest song by a good few minutes. So
I'll let you go first, and then I'll tell you why it's not.
Sure. Well, so, okay. I love the intro on this song. It feels very kind of Falling Into Infinity-ish, which is obviously the Sherinian influence. So I absolutely love that. And I think it's kind of funny because when it kicks in with the full band, goes bam, 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 bam. I don't know why. I thought this the very first time I ever heard the song, and it will not leave my head every time I subsequently listen to this song. I just want to, over that bam, 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 I just want to go breaking news. It sounds like you would see in a movie, like the sound effect that would happen when the newscast is like, oh, there's a massive tornado. It's going to destroy the whole city coming in. But I really like the instrumentation throughout that part because, once it kicks in and everything, it's, before the vocal, obviously, it kind of sounds to me like something that you would hear on like a prog guitar player's solo record, like one of those Italian or European guys where it just sounds like Euro in a way. Like I would say Marco Sfogli, but his stuff is much more straightforward. But when he does go a little bit proggy, I could hear him doing something like this. So that's awesome. After the first verse and chorus, they get back into the metal stuff. They're like, it's okay, kids, time for the metal. Like that kind of picture that. And so I dig that. But one of the most just kick-ass fun things about this song is when Jeff Scott was like, stop. And then they go into, that crazy part begins. I just think as simple as it is, I love that. It's just such like stop, boom. Here's a hard left turn. I just think that's one of the coolest transitions I've ever heard, even though it's like just a split second. I just love that choice there. The prog part in the middle kind of has a little bit of Dark Eternal Night vibes for me. So it's kind of wonky, but heavy and metal, but weird in parts. And I think it gets really weird, but in really catchy ways too. I think it's one of those things that they do really well when they get really strange. You're like, what the hell is the melody here? But you like it. It's not off-putting to the ear. So I love that part of it. And then, of course, we go back to the breaking news riff. Bam, 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 bam. So, and then, the end or the outro, whatever, the last 2-3 minutes of the song, whatever it is, that is just classic Portnoy. Here's how we're going to end a major giant behemoth of a song type of thing, go into the halftime with some, boom, 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 boom fills, and then do like the halftime drum beat and everything. And just kind of, it's this big grandiose finale. And the record ends on that, which I think is pretty appropriate. It's a phenomenal ending to a phenomenal record. And this is, one of those songs that you and I talk about all the time where it doesn't feel as long as it is. If you didn't look at the the time of each of the tracks, you would never sit there and listen to this whole thing and go, oh, that's an almost 16-minute song. No, it feels like 10, 11, something like that. So just a great song. I'm glad they finally did one because they seem to like hold back on this for the first record, and obviously the first 7 songs of this album. So I always wondered, like, are they going to try and pull a Dream Theater and go into something that's almost like 20 minutes, like one of those? And while it's only 15 minutes and change, that's damn long. And I was excited they did it, and I think they did an absolutely stellar job with it. So why do you not consider this an epic?
Actually, it's almost 17 minutes, I think, according to Spotify.
I thought it was like 1550 or something.
I think it's 1650.
Huh. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, it's 16. Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. You're right. 1550. Okay, almost 16 minutes.
Did I nail it? Did I nail it to the second?
You actually did, yeah.
Wow, go me. That's never happened.
Okay,
before.
I'm gonna raise your Falling into Infinity, and I get a little bit of Octavarium here.
Oh, okay.
Song, yeah. Now I know Octavarium is mostly Jordan, but this has a mix of guitar and keyboard. Yeah, that news thing you're hearing, that's actually basically a full-blown Emerson, Lake and Palmer kind of a deal, with some of those accents and those dissonant stuff that the keyboards and guitars are playing. That's big time Emerson, Lake and Palmer. The reason this song isn't an epic is this is basically a 13-minute instrumental pretending it's a 16-minute song, but it's not.
Are you taking off like the fade out in the intro?
Yeah. If you take out the parts that actually have vocals in it, it's not even 4 minutes. I checked it out. Yeah, it's 3 minutes at the beginning. The vocals go from like 4 to roughly 8.5 at the most, and then you get about a minute or two at the end. And I don't even know if I count those at the end. Those are kind of like chants, whatever. It's vocals, yeah, but to me, this and you brought up a good point too. Like, when are they going to do something like this? Like Portnoy, he's got to get it out of his system, man. He can't go a second album without
scratch the itch.
15-minute song out. And yeah, to me, this is and I'm not saying this in a negative way. I just doesn't feel like an epic song. It feels like an instrumental where we got some vocals in there. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But I don't consider it an epic, I guess. I love that Billy Sheehan, that the bass solo he has. Yeah. And then right before that, Bumblefoot's doing that thing. It's like, I think it's where you kind of do the volume or the tone off and on, like that little.
Yeah.
The guy in Rage kind of does it, but this is like way more distorted now. There's a cool fuzzy feeling to it. He does it right before the bass solo. But yeah, to me, this is an instrumental, and it's got a few vocals in it, and that's okay. But that's my thoughts on it.
There you go. Yeah, I'm wondering if that effect you were mentioning is a kill switch rather than because the volume on and off thing, that's like Eddie Van Halen in Cathedral. But I'm wondering if he's doing it with a kill switch instead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's possible. But you know exactly what I'm talking about right before that solo.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, totally. And Kale says, yep, 100%. I think that's intentional. He's talking about the news thing I mentioned. He said, I think that's intentional. New World Today doesn't not sound like a news program. Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point, man. Yeah, man, I don't know if I can agree with you on what it being, not being an epic, because it's basically an instrumental that had some vocals thrown over it. I mean, there are, I don't know.
I was shocked at how few vocals, because I double checked them. Like, I thought there was more vocals in this song when I heard it before, and I'm like, no.
What's up, Joe? Speaking of St. Louis, what's IMOS? He says having IMOS and a cocktail. Yeah. What
Emo's,
is that?
That's Emo's Pizza, man. It's the best pizza ever. That's awesome, dude.
Oh, okay.
Discuss metal, Joe. You just want me to like hate you right now, don't you?
Couple of St. Louis guys talking pizza. Yeah, having emos and a cocktail, listening to these guys talk into infinity. What is up,
you might not like it because it's super thin, like cracker crust, but the sauce and the cheese are amazing. So I don't know. You either love it or you hate it. There's no in between with IMOS. That you call it.
Well, dude, it's he wrote it in all caps. I thought that's how it read. I don't know anymore. Like people with all these dumb
like this album MMXX we're listening to, right?
That's exactly right. See what? I'm sorry. Was I supposed to call this one?
Yeah, right.
Joe's having IMOS pizza, and we're reviewing an album called.
Right.
So, oh yeah, look at this. So Joe says, Brian, I got you. Send me an address, and I'll send some frozen overnight.
See, I've ordered. You can buy what they call frozen emos, but it's not. It ain't the same, dude.
It's weird. I've done that with Chicago Deep Dish with Gino's East, and it's pretty damn close. It's obviously it's better fresh, but for something that's out of town, like it was good enough for me.
Oh, really? I mean,
So,
it was close, I guess, but it was to the point where I'm like, damn it, now I just really want the real thing. You know what I mean? I think it annoyed me more.
Time to get in the car.
Got to get mines.
Well played. So those are our thoughts on the sophomore and unfortunately final record by Sons of Apollo, MMXX. I come back to two thoughts when I think about this album and the band in general. It's, God damn it, why did they have to stop putting records out? And also, again, where the hell were the Portnoy honks? You know, these guys in the chat section of Discord servers and all that, and on Facebook, they just, they're just holy crud. They're just swinging on Portnoy's nuts like crazy. And yet when he does something like this, they scurry like cockroaches when the lights turn on. It's like, well, do you love the guy or not? I mean, I don't understand, especially because the music is just so strong. I mean, it was excellent music. And again, I might be a little biased because it's, Derek Sherinian, and I love his writing. I love his playing. So it's got that vibe and that feel to it. So that could be a personal thing for me. But I will never understand how this wasn't bigger. I mean, to the point where, I read that it was Jeff Scott Soto had said that, the lyrics to Goodbye Divinity were written about basically how all the big things they thought were going to come from this band, they didn't get them off of that first record and tour. They were like really surprised that it was like it didn't blow up bigger than it did, and they were kind of like pissed off about it. And yeah, I'm with them. I don't understand. If you're a fan of Dream Theater, this is what I never got. If you're a fan of Dream Theater and you get a band that says, hey, here's two guys from Dream Theater, and then like one of the greatest guitar players in the world, and then one of the greatest singers in the world, and then one of the greatest bass players in the world, how in the hell are you not supporting that? It's not like they got out there and were doing Papa Roach tunes. They were doing some kick-ass prog metal. So I don't know. I'll never understand that, but I'm glad that these records exist. The live record is one of the best live records I've ever heard or seen. The DVD, the Blu-ray is incredible. And again, I got to see him on both tours, which is awesome, and especially that one in Battle Creek that we talked about to open the show. What a goddamn experience that was! I mean, I got one of my top favorite concerts I've ever seen in my life out of this run. So, just a great experience. I just wish there was more of it. So,
well, I wonder if we talked about something similar before. Like, let's say both of these albums come out, I don't know, 2007 or something.
Mm-hmm.
The way people consume music now, as opposed to even then, so night and day. You think it's probably bigger, perceived more, or like, I don't know. I mean, I think it has a much better chance rather than kind of just getting swallowed up in the void of just 8 million things. And I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. It's weird. It's just really weird for me. It's close to Dream Theater, but it's not the same. Like I said earlier, I think it sits very nicely next to the Dream Theater catalog.
Yeah.
So I don't get how it didn't take off more. It's just something I will never understand. So, in any case, those are our final thoughts about MMXX. Real quick, got some comments and then a quick story. Joseph Randy says, JT, bring Brian home to the STL now.
That's Sitala.
Yes, Sitala. Chastity says, we need a massive get together. Everyone bring their favorite pizza or other carb heavy food. emos or whatever. It will be eating into infinity. Yes. That would be kind of an interesting thing to do. If we could find some venue like in the middle of the States or something and just like see how many people would travel just to do like a hangout, like find
just to watch us eat.
Yeah, exactly. Do like a live episode or something. Just it'll be like the most self-serving thing ever. These people like, what does this get together at this brewery or whatever? Like, oh, it's just these guys are doing a podcast. Like
they're gonna eat and drink in front of you.
Exactly. Joseph Friend says in relation to like why Portnoy fans didn't get more behind Sons of Apollo, we love the guy, but we can't defend it since it's not Dream Theater. Sarcasm intended. Gave this one a casual listen once, going to revisit after this episode. Yeah, I love it, Joe. I mean, it's like I say, it's got an organic kind of jam-ish feel. Brian, I think, summed it up beautifully when he said that this record is more based on groove than riffage. And I think that that's a great way to phrase it. He also says, Papa Roach with Prog Intersections is your new progressive cover band from this guy and Kale. Kale, you down? Apparently Joe and Kale are going to form a band. Nice. Chastity says, yeah, and the first single is going to be Harken Forward. Oh, my God. Oh. All right, so Kale wants to know if he can announce something cool here. Yes, you can, Kale. Of course you can. So let us know and put it in the comments, and we will.
No pressure, but it better be cool.
Yeah,
or whatever you kids are calling cool these days. I wouldn't even know, to be honest.
I think I know what this is about. So it is pretty badass for Kale. So yeah, while he's typing, yeah, everybody knows I'm a huge fan of Mammoth, WVH, and a couple weeks ago on a Friday, our main rock station here in Cleveland, they had this cool thing that's called big band little venue, or big band small venue they call it, and they actually got Wolfgang to play this little place called the Foundry out here in Cleveland, and you could only get in by winning tickets through the radio station. Well, thanks to an incredible friend of mine, Matt Wardlaw. He was actually, if you guys go back in the Talking Into Infinity episode archives, he was the guy who did the Score episode with me and who I went to Score with. Go ahead, take a drink for all of you who are, doing the John Drake Score drinking game. Well, anyway, he was interviewing Wolfgang the day that I found out about the show. And I texted him. I was like, man, are you getting into this? This is awesome. And he was like, I was just going to text you about that because I'm interviewing Wolf today. He said, I'm going to ask the publicist if he can get you on the guest list. Well, he did. So Steph and I got to go, and it was awesome. I mean, we were literally right up against the stage to the point at the end of the show where Frank Sidoris, the guitar player who's from Cleveland, he just reached down and handed Steph a pick in the set list, just barely crouched over. We were so close up. And it was cool because, I had heard throughout the day that it was going to be an acoustic set, which didn't bother me. I like that kind of stuff. But then we get there and we heard, they're only going to, rumor is they're only going to do 5 songs. I'm thinking, okay, well, 5 acoustic songs. I don't care. I'm up close to Wolfgang. This is fine. Well, as we're walking through the line, some of the iHeartRadio people were there, and they said, no, it's actually full band. The whole band's here. I was like, oh, cool. So that's awesome. Well, then we get in and we walk up to the stage because we're one of the first few people to get in the venue. And we go to the stage and look at the set list, and there's like 11 songs. I was like, dude, that's like basically a full show. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. So they did something really, really cool where the middle song of the whole show, it just had a big question mark. I'm like, I wonder what they're going to do. So when they got to that point in the show, he said, yeah, we leave this one open. Like, we want you guys to pick, just, what do you want to hear? And a couple people are murmuring, and I just start hollering, like, think it over. Think it over. And after like 4 times, he just kind of looks in my direction and goes, okay, we're playing Think It Over. So I got my song. And then what was really, really awesome was a couple songs later, they played Distance. And he said, okay, well, how do you guys want us to do it? I can do it acoustic by myself, or we can do it full band. Like, cheer if you want to hear acoustic so people went nuts, and then cheer if you want to hear it full band. And everybody cheered. And he looked at the band, he's like, I don't know. That was pretty even. He says, why don't we do it both ways? And I'm thinking, oh, that's cool, man. So I figured he's going to do the first half acoustic, then the band's going to kick in, then it's going to be a full thing. Well, no, what he did is he did it once by himself all the way through acoustic, and then they played it immediately after full band, so that if you wanted to hear it one way, you got it. If you wanted to hear it the other way, you got that too. I've never seen a band do that before, and it was, even though you're hearing the same song twice, just seeing it presented those two different ways was so fucking awesome. So it was just a great experience. And like I say, we got a set list and a pick, and there was actually some good friends of mine that were there, so we were hanging out with them, and it was just so cool to see something like that up close. And I mean, I know we've said it before, they are razor sharp tight on stage. They sound so goddamn good, and it's just they're second to none. So that was awesome. Okay, let's get back to hear what Kale wanted to say.
Wait, real quick though. I would have been the guy in the back. Sometimes you're the dog, sometimes you're the hydrant. Sorry.
That's the trouble with never. The trouble with never.
I didn't even know the song. I just remember that line was so David Lee Roth. All right, Kale, breaking news.
Yes. Where's our bam, 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 bam riff right now? So yeah, Kale says, here's this very cool thing. Last night at 9 p.m., my solo EP officially went into mastering. 6 songs coming out under the titles Everywhere But Anywhere will drop on July 21st, which is my birthday. His birthday, I mean. That is awesome. That is awesome, Kale. I figured that's what you were going to talk about. So that is so cool. You're doing, man. Congratulations. Because he also says the new Lines of Conviction EP is in the mixing phase. So yeah, Kale's got a lot of music coming out, man. And again, guys, if you haven't picked up that Lines of Conviction yet, their first release, you got to go check it out. It's really, really good. You can get it on streaming services and stuff like that. Very, very good stuff. And congratulations on the solo record, Kale. That's very cool. I could never write a solo EP even if I wanted to. I cannot write a whole song myself. I need help from other people. So
yeah, me either.
So there we go.
Discuss Metal Joe says, Kale, how do I pay for a signed copy? Actually, if you Venmo me, Discuss Metal Joe, I will make sure. Kale, minus the exchange rate for Austria.
He's not kidding, guys. I bought us tickets to see Mammoth in November, and he has yet to pay me. So Brian really is as cheap as he sounds.
I thought I did pay you.
You thought very wrong. You're still $95 in the hole. So
really?
Yeah. I could have used that when I was getting my plumbing fixed today. That is not a metaphor. So anyways,
I thought I paid you. All right. Well, man, I'd rather, like I said before, I'd rather owe you the rest of your life than end up screwing you out of that money. So
just Joseph Fred wants us all to write a song. He says, JT, let's do it. Brian, come on, let's write one. There we go. Kale said he's in. I honestly think we could. If I could figure out a way to record guitar on this thing, I could definitely come.
All right, let's make let's the four of us. Let's make the Talking Into Infinity theme song.
It'll be called Harken Forward. Oh my God!
As Bob Hurd says, Farkin' Horward. He refers to letters.
So should we do that? Harken forward and in parentheses, do the parentheses, gorilla farts.
Yeah.
Joe, rocking into infinity. Oh, that's awesome. All right, guys. Well, I think that'll about do it for another episode of Talking Into Infinity. Real quick, I want to plug something that will be coming up on a future episode. We'll figure out what we're doing here in 2 weeks, which will be Thursday, June 12th. At 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But on June 26th, we have a special guest returning to the show. You loved him the first time. You asked for more. So he is our very good friend, Pyro John Watkins. So he is going to be coming on to tell some more of his crazy stories. But speaking of crazy stories and Pyro, that guy's so crazy that when he was on the show last time, he did not say that he actually had the book that he was talking about completed and that it was coming out very soon, because about a week after we talked to him last, I saw on Facebook that he had said, oh, my book's out. I'm like, wait, what? So I bought it, and I'm telling you, I'm not just shilling because he's a friend of show. His book is awesome. It's a very easy read. He's got it's just a huge collection of his stories, and each one's only a few pages long. So you can just take it in little bits. You can sit there and binge read it. It works both ways beautifully. The book is called Don't You Know Who I Think I Am? Memoirs of a World-Class Smartass. It also is subtitled How to Have Fun Annoying the Rich and Infamous. So it is awesome, guys. I can't recommend it enough. You can grab yours on Amazon. It's only $24.99. It gets here in a day or two, so obviously very quickly. Again, I'm not just saying this because John is a friend of the show and whatnot. We've had him on. It is an excellent read. Just the stories are really, really entertaining, and it runs the gamut from, like, you know, it starts in his childhood. You know, he met, like, I'm trying to remember which one it is at this point. Was it My Favorite Martian guy, I think, or My Three Sons? One of the guys on My Three Sons. I think it was the dad or something. And he has that. You know, there's him meeting, you know, Gene Simmons and all these other famous people and working for them and all sorts of things. And it's just a great read. So we're going to have John on June 26th to tell us some more of his stories and also plug his book, Don't You Know Who I Think I Am? Memoirs of a World-Class Smartass. So go grab your copy on Amazon so you're all up to speed on it before we get John on here to discuss the writing process with him. And as I said, we will be right back here in 2 weeks on June 12th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will pick a topic and be back here filling your ear holes with all of our glorious stupidity. So hearken forward to that.
This is taking on a whole new level, man.
It has, man.
The new gorilla farts.
It is. We've got the John Score drinking game. We've got gorilla farts, and now we've got harken forward. So there we go. But Brian, any last thoughts before we jump out of here?
No, man, this was a really, really fun episode. I'm glad we waited a week, but it was definitely worth it. And you know, bittersweet because let's be real, we're not getting another SOA album. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, chances are slim to none, and none took off a while ago. So, but we're blessed, man. You're super blessed. You got to see him twice. So
yeah. That's one of those things, dude. Like when Steph gets mad that I'm going to see concerts all the time, it's like, well, I don't know when it's going to be the last time. You know, that kind of hit me when Eddie Van Halen passed. I was like, if I would have known in 2015 that was the last tour, I would have gone to, I would have paid anything to be at their final show. First of all,
it's coming a lot faster, I think, than people realize. That this style of music and these artists that are in this age range, like, I'm not saying these guys are old, but they're not young either. Neither are we. So,
well, I mean, and some of them just retire. They're like, I don't feel like doing it anymore.
Right. It's financially, it's not. They take a bath most of the time.
Exactly. So, I always like ending on a high note. Thanks for that. But yeah. So thanks, guys, for tuning in to another episode of Talking Into Infinity. As always, all you awesome people in the chat: Kale McLeish, Luke the Composer, Chastity Crawley, Discuss Metal Joe, Rocketman 137. Appreciate you guys very much. Michael McCollum. And again, we'll be back here in 2 weeks on Thursday, June 12th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I am your host, John. He is Brian. And as always, y'all, Carpe Diem.